Hey guys, welcome to Chef Grace's Place. So today we're going to make gingerbread, and gingerbread is one of my favorite things this time of year because it's just so fun to get together with your friends and build things out of gingerbread and decorate cookies. I've mentioned before on the channel that before everything happened, I was a flight attendant. Last year, I actually wasn't home for Christmas, so instead of making a gingerbread house, since I wasn't going to be home, I made a gingerbread Boeing 787. I did run into a couple snags. I realized this recipe is a softer gingerbread, so when I was putting the plane together, when I finally had it all stacked together, it kind of cracked a little bit, but I was able to smooth it out with some icing. So this year I do get to be home for Christmas. The thing with gingerbread houses is they're great to look at, but people rarely eat them. So I'm gonna go gingerbread man route. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cream our Crisco and our sugar. So I have a scale. It's Christmas. Ask Santa for a scale. I'm gonna try my best to put this in volume measurements, but the scale is really just the easiest because you're also getting less things dirty because this is my first step. I have another bowl for my water and my molasses, and then I have another bowl for dry ingredients, and that's it. Now, when you're measuring out shortening, one of the best shortening, like, it's really hard to come off of things, like your hands. So what I do is I make a makeshift glove with some plastic wrap. To scoop it out of the container, because I don't want to get it on my hands. It's silly, but it works. You see, this is why I love this scale, because I didn't have to put that in a cup and get it all messy or anything. I just scooped it out and threw it in there, and my hands are still clean. So I'm going to tare the scale now. Tare means setting it back to 0. I had 12 ounces of shortening, and now I need 9 ounces of sugar. So since that's the first step, you can go in the mixer. Today we're using the paddle attachment. Whenever you hear someone say creaming in a recipe, it's usually the paddle attachment. Alright, next we're going to measure out 3 ounces of water. Now it's important that you put the water first because we're going to add our molasses next, which is about 8 ounces, and it's just going to help it not stick to the bottom. We're going to whisk this together. This combination of the water and the molasses is really going to help keep our gingerbread soft. Now I need 1 pound and 11 ounces of flour. Okay, so I need like 0.4 ounces ginger. So if you're doing this by weight, it's good because you need all the same measurements by weight of the smaller ingredients: salt, ginger, baking soda. You need 0.375 ounces. I rounded that to 0.4 ounces. You could do that in grams and it would be more exact. But this is a good thing why it's by weight, because if I said it was all a tablespoon, it's not true, because they all have different densities and different weights. So a tablespoon of ginger doesn't weigh the same as a tablespoon of salt. So they're similar, but in these small measurements, we gotta be exact. Now you could sift this, but I just want to make sure there's no lumps. So I'm just gonna run a fork through it and mix it up Just making sure it's pretty well mixed together. Alright guys, we're over at the mixer, so we're going to start the creaming method process. So the first step is going to be creaming our shortening and our sugar. So we're just going to whip this up until it's light and fluffy, just like any other creaming method cookie. Alright, so you can see that mixers, they mix side to side, but they don't mix top to bottom. You can see on the bottom there, it's like chunky because there's less shortening in that than there are on the sides. So it's really important that we scrape our bowl top to bottom from time to time, just to make sure everything gets incorporated. Now you can use a spatula for this, but I generally like to use a bowl scraper. So it's looking like buttercream, that's what you're looking for. So I'm gonna add this in while the mixer's on. Slowly. I don't want to break the emulsion, so to speak. So my mixer's on like slow, just a little bit at a time. But you're gonna see why you need to scrape down in 1 second. Ready? See, look at all that white behind there. You really want to make sure you give it a scrape. So once you got it all in there, scrape down again and give it another mix before we put in our dry ingredients. So I added in about half. I'm gonna mix it in, and then when it's like halfway mixed, I'll put in the other half. So at this point, I just want to scrape it down really well and mix it one more time. And then we're gonna put it on the plastic wrap. You can see this dough, it's really soft, which is why I'm wrapping it in plastic and not leaving it in a bowl, because it's gonna take longer for the refrigerator to like cool down the bowl and then cool down the dough than it will just to wrap it up in plastic wrap. And I could do a couple different, like a few small discs, so this way it'll be even faster. Also, it portions it out for when I'm rolling it out. If you're getting super serious with your building for your cookies this year, you want to make sure your cookies go into the oven frozen so they don't move or spread too much. So it's important that you have a spot for them to freeze, which is not always available in my house. So we'll see how that goes. It might not turn out that way. I'm just going to be doing the gingerbread men, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you are putting together a house, you don't want your walls to, you want your walls to be as straight as possible, so they can connect on those angles. So just keep that in mind when you're making your gingerbread. Instead of rolling out my dough on the table, I'm going to roll it in between two pieces of parchment paper. This is because I don't want it to stick to anything, and I don't want to have to move the cookies again once it's rolled out, so the cookies don't get misshapen. Now the great thing about this dough is you can re-roll it up to like 3 times before it gets kind of tough. You'll actually notice it'll get darker as it loses some of its air and oxidizes. Beautiful. So I went pretty thin, which is fine. If you're gonna do a like a house, you probably want to leave it a little bit thicker. And don't forget, you need your gingerbread cookie cutter. You don't have to leave too much space for baking. I like to fit as many as I can. So a tool that it just makes your life a lot easier when it comes to baking is this mini offset spatula. You can just pick up the dough easier. You could use your fingers, but I find that's easier with the mini offset. Alright guys, so once you've rolled out your dough, you've separated your gingerbread men, you got them on the sheet pan, you really do want to chill them and freeze them so they don't spread in the oven, which is standard for most cookies that you cut into shapes. That said, I don't have any room in my freezer or in my refrigerator, so as soon as that hits 350, I'm going to throw it in and hope for the best. So they might be a little spread out, which is okay. We'll see how it goes. Alright guys, so it's time for my favorite part, cookie decorating. So the first thing you want to do is get everything together for your icing mix. And we're just going to use powdered sugar and water. So you want to whip it up. See, that wasn't very much water at all. And you want to whip it until it doesn't have any lumps in it. This actually, it might be a little bit runny. So I added a little bit more powdered sugar. It's holding its shape as it falls on top of itself. That's what we want. Alright guys, so we just made the icing. Really simple, just putting together some powdered sugar and water. I do recommend, if you're gonna make the colors red or black, to just buy them pre-made. I recommend this because it can take a lot of food dye to get that bright red or that really dark black that you're looking for. Usually you just wind up with pink or gray. So sometimes it's better just to get that pre-made. I'm going to be making some green. I'm going to go for your classic gingerbread man look with the white buttons and like lines for the shirt and the pants on the arms and legs, and a green bow tie. So I'm going to leave most of the icing white, but I'm going to make a little ramekin of green. I got these, I think, in either Target or Walmart, and they're gel colors. So that means they're not water-based, so they're a lot stronger than water-based food dye. You can also find food dyes in powder form, which is good because then you're not going to mess up the consistency of the icing, but this should be okay since it's a gel one. A water-based food dye would definitely cause an issue. I've done that before. But you just have to add more powdered sugar. But that's where we get into the, especially with the black and the red colors. If you're adding more powdered sugar to change the consistency, you're also making it lighter in color, so you never really get to that true red or that true black. So I'm just gonna scoop a little bit of this into my ramekin to mix it up. Also with royal icing, no matter if you make it with water or egg whites, the cornstarch and the powdered sugar will start to dry out and you will get a skin on top. So you actually want to put a piece of plastic wrap directly on the surface. You're going to be leaving it out. So I'm just going to do a nice green. Just one drop should do it. Super green. Kind of looks like pea green. I don't like this green for my gingerbread man. I'm gonna add some blue to it. Not the green I was going for. Alright. Just a little bit of blue. Sometimes it's good to know your color wheel, guys. I kind of want like half a drop, if that's possible. Oh, that's going to be too much blue. Caused some problems already. Oh my god. It's actually pretty cool. It's like a teal color. Very fashionable. Teal bow ties it is, guys. Alright, so before I get all teal, I'm going to spoon a little bit of white into one of these paper bags. You only need a little bit at a time. Now if you're going to do this with a metal piping tip, make sure it's the smallest one you can find. I'm just going to cut off the really tip. There we go. Alright, now for the fun part. Time to get decorating. So, I like to make it simple, right? 1, 2. Now you want to make that line like a string. Break it off at the end. You could do one line, you could do 2 lines, you could do squiggly lines. Whatever you want to do. Now of course you could do the classic gumdrop button. However, I don't have any gumdrops, and I really wish I could find gumdrops that are just very small. 2, you do 2 buttons, 3 buttons, whatever you want. So before I switch over to the green for the bow tie, I want to do the face. It's important to think in 2D, right? I like to go with emoji style faces on my gingerbread men. I think they just look really cute. So, you know, using the carrot symbols for eyes or dots, but nothing too crazy because it's not going to come across that well on the gingerbread man. You know, like that's cute. Very simple. I think simple is better. Less is more, right? So I'm gonna fill up my next bag with the green to do the bow tie. So for the bow tie, you're gonna make 2 triangles. I'm gonna cut this too big. 2 triangles. Or an X, whatever is easier for you. Once you've got the outline with the X, just drag your tip and pull in the icing. Now you're gonna let that dry for a minute, and then you can put the dot in the center of the bow tie. So cute. You can do all different faces too. And as you go, you might get icing. You might have your icing harden up in your bag. You can kind of push it and squeeze it out. So maybe we'll do a classic lady one. A pearl necklace. And the trick is getting them close enough together that it looks like a pearl necklace, but not that it will actually melt together. Same technique as the bow tie now, or we're just making a little hair bow. Huh? Not bad. Not great, but not bad. So you see this one's dry now? So if I add the dot, it will really be like 3D.
Awesome.
Beautiful. That one's you.
What's that one?
Alright guys, that's how you make gingerbread cookies. I hope you have fun decorating your cookies this holiday season. And I'll see you next time on Chef Grace's Place. I love hanging out at Chef Grace's Place. Aw, she invited you, she didn't invite me.
That's not a little crazy. It's not at all.
It's not?